Hi, everybody.
Freedom.
Freedom. Welcome back to the Black Flag Studio, Black Flag Media Studio. And we're going to talk about the Winnipeg lab leak, give our opinion on it and give our thoughts about that. But before we start, I do want to talk about Bill C-63. And I'm sure lots of you have heard of it by now, but if you haven't, please go check it out. I'll put a link in the description. I think I'm going to put a couple of them. I'll put a link to this actual the bill that you can actually read it. You can print it off like we've done here. And I'm also going to put a link to Rebel News, what do you call that? Rebel News report about it. Because I think Ezra did a really good job of breaking it down. So I'll put that in the link and we can...
Yeah, he spent an hour doing that.
Yeah.
And this really is, they don't even need the Emergency Act.
Yeah, I like that.
This is worse than the Emergency Act.
Yeah.
They just think you have some intent and you're arrested.
Yeah, exactly.
So
yeah.
They don't need the Emergency Act if that passes.
Right. So this is in my mind, it's a really dangerous bill. And I believe that we need to stop this before it even gets off the feet. You know, I know it has got its feet already, but we've got to write our MPs and senators and say no to this bill, C-63. So yeah, let's do that. And then, so we're going to talk about the Winnipeg lab leak that occurred, I believe it occurred in 2019. Is that the date you kind of know of it?
No, it was 21.
Well, from what I gathered, there was something that happened in 2019.
You're right. This is when it was actually happened. When it was first discovered, it was a couple of years after when it was first discovered. And by all accounts, Larry Brock can explain it a little bit more on his. But really, the RCMP had Trudeau's back on this at that point until now it's come up again.
And then in 2021, the China-Canada Committee were trying to get these documents. And when I was looking at this and researching, the thing that just kind of blew me away, I had no idea about, but the Speaker of the House, who was Anthony Rota at the time, told the government that they had to give these documents over.
Absolutely.
And that was a parliamentary rule. And the government of Canada sued Anthony Rota.
Yeah.
And it just kind of turned out that it rolled over into the next parliamentary sitting, so that that whole legal challenge kind of fell away.
Yeah.
And then of course they had that snap election in 2021. So that whole thing just got buried, and they've been trying for over 3 years to get these documents.
Like the truth is like the moon and the sun. You can't hide them for very long. It eventually comes out. So this is what's happening.
Yeah. So they've got these lab reports, and what they are, from what I can see, what they've discovered, that these two Chinese, I mean, they were Canadian citizens, but they were connected to the Chinese, the People's Communist Party. What do you call it? The PCR.
Republic is the
Republic.
They've changed it from CCP to the to the RCP, but
so and also connected to their army.
Yep.
So this is a major security breach, and it needs to be getting to the bottom of it. And the fact that the Winnipeg lab is a level 4.
It's our CDC basically, as the U.S. will have. It's our CDC.
It has all the toxic, all the infectious diseases are in there.
Oh, it is.
And so these two scientists, allegedly, I guess, but I think it's pretty much confirmed, had those samples, and they sent them over to, guess where? Wuhan.
Yeah, but actually I think it goes a little bit more. And I'll tell you why, because when this first happened, I started researching it. This goes back when I heard about the leak first. So I've had this, and this is posted. So what happens is the first thing that I found suspicious is every country actually has a level 5 or a level 4 lab, and pretty much all of the major nations have samples of Ebola. So when they first said they were transferring samples of Ebola, I said, well, why?
Everybody would have their own.
Everyone would have it. Right. So and other people did the same thing too. But when scientists research stuff like that, when they come to a conclusion of something, they always do a paper, and then gets released for peer study, right? So a peer group would come back and do this way. So I started researching the two Chinese scientists just by names only, and they came up on a document along with several other bioticians, scientists, a lot from China as well. But the two that were in Canadian were on this, and they made this paper, and I did put it on my Facebook page. Most not their whole research study, but basically they would do a document of this is what we were doing, and put it out for peer review. So it was called the repurposing of bromide hydrochloride to inhibit Ebola virus by targeting it with viral glycoprotein.
Okay.
So this is a little bit beyond me, a little bit beyond you when that's it. So I talked, well, but, within our network, we have a lot of doctors and scientists, and I said, this is what I kind of think it is. Am I right? And yeah. So they were basically taking the Ebola virus, right, and manipulating it more. So now the study was made. So the study was credited to the Institute of Medical Biotechnology, Chinese Academy of Medical Sciences, in Peking Union Medical School. That was one that was accredited. Then the Special Pathogens Program, National Microbiology, Public Health Agency of Canada in Winnipeg was also on this document, which means there's a partnership here. And then another laboratory in China, the Chinese Academy of Sciences was accredited to it. Lady Davis Institute, Jewish General Hospital, McGill University is on this. Laboratory of Vaccine and Antibody Engineering, Beijing, China. And then the Center for Retrovirus Research, the Ohio State University, Columbus, Ohio. And then the University of Chinese Academy of Sciences was also on this document. So basically, scientists from all these were working on this. Okay. However, it seemed to be that the work was being done primarily in Winnipeg. So I'll kind of go back to what I was saying. Like I said, it's on my Facebook page. There's a lot of science talk on it. You can look for it, but you really have to research the web on it, but you'll find medical papers and things like that, and you'll find that in there. So why would they want to inhibit the Ebola virus with viral glycoprotein? So how it was described to me was the Ebola virus kills at a 95% death rate. And then going back into West Africa back in the 90s, you remember hearing it, and they all had the white suits. So that killed 11,000 people. Now, 11,000 is a lot, but Ebola actually could spread faster if it was manipulated. But Ebola, as it was there, actually killed too fast, which means the host carrier, the virus dies when the carrier dies. So it killed so fast that he wasn't able, the people that had it, their contacts, they didn't have enough contacts before they did to make it huge.
To make it a real bioweapon.
What this basically says, what this study is, what they were doing, is extending that incubation period of Ebola to make it even more at pandemic levels. So in essence, this would become basically the most...
The deadliest bioweapon.
To date, ever made, for sure. And that's why if you see Michael Cooper talking about national security and things like that the government knows that that's what they're doing. Obviously, they're not putting it out, but they wanted to show the severity of what actually ended up leaving our lab to China.
Right. Well, good for those guys to push and finally get this through. And, they're still working, this committee, this Canada-China committee is working really hard at getting these, they got the reports. And as Michael Cooper said in his live that he did yesterday or 2 days ago, that they had 2 or 3 retired federal court judges look over those documents to determine if they thought that they were actually national security level, so that parliamentarians weren't even allowed to see them. And their answer was no.
Finally, the Winnipeg lab documents have been released. For 3 years, Justin Trudeau tried to hide these documents from Parliament. In an unprecedented fashion, he defied 4 orders of Parliament and its committees. He even, for the first time in Canadian history, took the Speaker of the House of Commons to court to hide the documents. That's the lengths to which Justin Trudeau went to cover it up. And he said that it was all about protecting national security. That was his excuse. But we now know that Justin Trudeau lied. According to the conclusions of 3 retired federal judges who reviewed these documents, they said it had nothing to do with national security and everything to do with an effort by Justin Trudeau to save his government from embarrassment in the face of a massive national security failure. These documents are truly shocking in what they reveal in terms of Beijing military scientists gaining unfettered access to some of Canada's most sensitive biological secrets at Canada's highest security lab, a lab that studies and handles some of the most dangerous and deadly viruses and pathogens.
Now they have them, and what will come of this, who knows? But of course, it would seem that the Trudeau government has been hiding this for over 3 years. Yeah. They well knew that this was going on, and that's more to the point. I mean, this is a big point of Ebola being, or any whatever it is that they're using to, gain a function. They're using to, extend and to create bioweapons. Bioweapons is really scary to me, that's for sure. Yeah. But the Trudeau government did all they could, including suing the Speaker of the House, who is also a liberal. Which, well, I thought was kind of not funny, but
don't forget that first time he was elected, he said he'd have the most transparent government in Canadian history. Yeah.
Well, we've seen that. It's not true. And one of the other things that, just because we have to kind of, say something about Trudeau. So in 2021, when he was asked in the House about these documents, as Trudeau often always does, really deflects and, talks about, climate change, or talks about something else. So I'm going to read you what he was saying at the time. His answer to, handing over these documents was, and I quote, "We have long known that diversity is our strength as a country, especially in scientific research. We will always strive to do more to protect the integrity of our research institutions and their data. However, we will never play into the hands of intolerance towards people from other countries simply because they look different. We will always stand up for diversity." End quote. Justin Trudeau. So that's his answer to, we want these documents. We're concerned about, what's been going on between this lab and China, and that's his answer.
Yeah, associating it with anti-Asian hate. Yeah. It had nothing to do with it.
Yeah, and remember that. I remember that kind of coming up, all this anti-Asian hate. I'm like, where did that all come from all of a sudden? Now I know why.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is an ongoing investigation, and we'll, we and you guys keep an eye on what's going on in these committee meetings, and to the extent that they can secure these labs, and we don't want bioweapons.
No. What actually happened? So they wanted a committee meeting. Now the committee meeting's actually not a judicial review, but it's at least,
no, not at all.
At least MPs have the chance to inquire, but the Liberals and NDP shut it down.
Yeah, they keep shutting down all of this.
So this shows something insidious. If it was such a national threat, like Jagmeet Singh, well, why not? Look, it's not going to. The government, the coalition will still be in place. I mean, it's not going to cause. So why would he not? Which means the Trudeau-Singh is much more tighter than it is.
Absolutely.
So what does Trudeau have on Singh? And Singh has something on Trudeau. This is basically what it's saying. And the two of them are protecting each other's back.
It's one thing to be protecting one another's back for, pharmacare, which, is another story altogether. But, all of these things. But this is Ebola. This is, this is bioweaponry. and that's a whole different level. So why would Jagmeet and why would even, I don't know if the Bloc are doing too much in that, but why are the other Liberal MPs protecting Justin Trudeau? And hopefully we'll get to the bottom of that.
Well, hopefully. Now,
Sorry,
them.
them.
So the Conservatives are just going to have to chip away at this with the paperwork, chip away, and put it out. Now, I think if there was different leadership in the U.S. right now, international law, especially with The Hague, there's a lot of a lot you can do with bioweapons, right? If we had different leadership in the U.S., they would be on Canada to say what the hell's going on here.
Yeah, for sure. I would hope so, but I would think so. Yeah.
Because this is pretty serious. Yeah. And just the production of it as well. Yeah. But that the other thing too, if we're in the States, they could have a congressional hearing, and that's actually judicial. I mean, the findings in there can actually. Yeah.
And this is all wrapping up in the foreign interference as well. This is all,
this is all
and that inquiry is on pause right now, but it'll start up again. So these are all like intertwined, the foreign interference and this lab situation, a big mess. So we'll just keep following that story, I guess.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, just keep bringing it up as much as you can. Don't let the story die.
Yeah, don't let it die.
Because if you look at the mainstream media, they aren't even, other than that way they don't really mention it at all. That's Justin and Singh having them protected. Yeah. But I know, just keep spreading the story around as much as possible.
Yeah, for sure.
And kind of describe that to just people walking on the street. I said, is this the most transparent government Canada's ever had? I guess not.
Yeah.
So.
Right. Can we end it there?
Yeah,
we're good with that? Okay, bye everybody.
Okay,
freedom. Always choose freedom. Thanks.